It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So sad to hear about the death of actor George Wendt.
Yeah, 76.
Norm Peterson on Cheers. And it's funny because all you have to do is punch into Google Normisms.
Yeah.
And it all comes up. And as I told you, my favorite, I can still remember the day I must have laughed for 5 minutes just because it was so funny the way he would do it. I mean, he's a great actor. So, I mean, he had Norm down. You know, he had Norm down perfect. But the one day when he walked in, what you up to, Mr. Peterson? My ideal weight if I was 11 feet tall. That one always got me. And I was just looking at some of the Normisms out there. How's it going, Mr. Peterson? Poor. I'm sorry to hear that. No, I meant poor. The beer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All Normisms here. Women can't live with them. Pass the beer nuts. What's going down, Norm? My butt cheeks on the bar stool. Pour you a beer, Mr. Peterson? All right, but stop me at 1. Make that 1:30. The one, it's one of the favorites out there. I was on social media yesterday. How's it going, Mr. Peterson? It's a dog-eat-dog world, Woody, and I'm wearing milk-bone underwear. What's the story, Norm? Boy meets beer, boy drinks beer, boy needs another beer. Then he walks in. Can I pour you a beer, Mr. Peterson? A little early, isn't it, Woody? For a beer? No, for stupid questions. Hey, Norm, how's life in the fast lane? Don't know. Can't find the on-ramp. What would you like, Normie? A reason to live? Give me another beer.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Just so what a great character. And I said I immediately related to Norm because I knew Norms.
Yeah, sure.
I knew people at the where I grew up, there were corner bars, family-run corner bars. And there were people in there. One guy in particular that I knew, name was Ron. We called him Grubbs. And he sat, he was going in there, my gosh. I started going in the 70s, 80s, 90s. When I left Buffalo in 97, I had my going away party at that place, Casey's on Amherst Street in Black Rock section of New York. Mm. And he was sitting right there. He was there for my going away party in 97 when I left Buffalo, and I haven't been back for a job there yet and won't be.
Yeah.
He was a character everybody understood, and he just played it so natural. Mm-hmm. Did you ever get the idea he was acting?
No, that's the thing. If you can disappear into one of those roles, the one thing about sitcoms, they're way too sitcom-y. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're delivering the lines, and it almost looks like you're watching, how, like, if you're watching a live play on stage, they have to project because you have to be able to hear them. And so there is this, and it almost sometimes comes off as a little more contrived, And with sitcoms, that was the same. You have a couch facing the audience,
mm-hmm.
and, inevitably Dad comes home, blah, 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 what's wrong, Dad? Blah, 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 and the whole thing. With Cheers, the characters seemed real, but Norm was one of those of, oh yeah, no, I know that guy. I know that guy. It's, it's inevitable if you've been on the planet long enough and been to enough bars or just hangouts, really. It's not even really the bar thing. It's where everybody knows your name. Any kind of place like that. A local place, a local hangout.
Well, where I, not in the suburb I grew up, but where my buddy grandfather had a bar, there were bars on every corner.
Yeah.
And they were the community gathering place. You went there. I mean, you ate there. I mean, the Friday night fish fries were just classic. It was just, and in fact, whenever I have a fish fry in Texas, they never have the rye bread with butter because you gotta. I don't know if it's anywhere else in the Northeast, but when you grow up in Buffalo, if it's a fish fry, you got to have rye bread, and you go through about a loaf before the fish ever comes to you because you're putting it's butter and rye bread. It just goes with it, and so. But I mean that the culture of the bar was it was not exclusively I go there to get drunk.
Yeah,
it was a place where it was actually a place where the community met. So
it was a hangout.
When you say everybody knows your name, when I heard that song too, and then saw Cheers, I went. It was a reflection. Now they didn't serve food there, so the bar it was a different kind. It was supposed to be a sports bar with one TV.
Yeah, Didn't they at one point serve food?
No, upstairs did.
Oh, that's right. There was a restaurant.
Melville's was upstairs, and so people would wait down there in order to get their
their table.
Their table. Well, that was a great one. I can't think of the guy's name that ran the restaurant upstairs. What a great actor he was, too. And he hired Norm's wife, and then she was peeking through a hole, looking at him constantly, and he'd always look up, and finally he found out that she was looking at him from the upstairs to see what he was doing. He goes, I knew it. But it's when he defended her because it was John Allen something was the guy's name upstairs who owned the restaurant. And then he fired Norm's wife and started insulting her. And Norm just grabbed him and said, you take that back. You better take that back. But it got to be, for me, one of the things it's on all the streaming channels now. You can find it all. Cheers is all over the place, especially on the streaming channels. But it was a couple of years ago. One of the things is you and I talk about how the show consumes you completely because you're doing it at night, but all the show prep is during the day. But me, just general with everything in life, by the time it gets to 4:00, I shut it down. I won't take a phone call after 4:00.
Yeah,
I said everybody who knows me. I got a veg for the, at 4:00, boom, I need to just do nothing, and I'll flick on garbage TV. And it got to be with a couple of years ago, a late friend of mine, she died a few months ago, great woman, but she would, around 4:15, occasionally I get the text message from her, are you at the bar? And I went, absolutely, well, what's going on? And I would watch Cheers. I wouldn't even watch the whole thing. It would just be all I needed was 5 minutes of the bar scene. And I always told her, I said, well, I don't have time for bars anymore. I've been a productive person the last, 40, 50 years. I can't be there all the time. So I want to be in a bar. So I visit Cheers for 5 minutes, hear Cliff and Norm go back and forth. And I feel like I've been out and then I can go to sleep. She got the biggest kick out of that.
Yeah.
But she'd always say, you at the bar today? Yeah, certainly am. But what a great, and you think about it, the characters of Cliff, John Ratzenberger and George Wendt, I mean, they, as Norm, were just perfect. They really were.
Yeah, they were
perfect.
Yeah.
And remember, the creators did not create Cliff. He did.
Yeah.
He went in there.
Yeah.
And do you remember, anybody remember the Cheers where it was Halloween, and Cliff dressed up as Ponce de Leon, and there was this other woman that came in, and she was also dressed up in a costume. I don't know what she was. I can't remember.
Yeah.
And, they really were flirtatious with each other.
Right.
I don't know if you remember that one.
Right, right.
Well, that woman was George Wendt's real wife in real life. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So another bit of useless trivia that I know.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it was so – that one, you sit there and there are just some actors that are so relatable.
Yeah.
That, when I saw it yesterday, it's like you actually felt it. It was like, oh, no, not Norm. I mean, it was funny because you didn't say, oh boy, poor George. It's like, poor Norm. Not Norm. So, yeah, it's great. It is wonderful how great acting can actually get to your soul. It really is.
Well, that's the thing, is that what do great shows or movies actually do? Music, same thing.
Yeah, you're right. Yep.
They connect with you on some emotional level.
Yep.
And the longer they're around, the greater that emotional connection long term. When you go to review a show, go watch an old episode of Cheers or Seinfeld, or I remember young people were binging Friends on Netflix going, oh, these jokes are wrong. But it's so funny. They were laughing, but basically the consensus was, yeah, it's funny, but you could never tell those jokes today. I just watched, it wasn't too long ago, an episode of King of Queens, and I forget what the joke was. Not in a million years on today's TV.
Wow.
Yeah, that wasn't that long ago. But the thing is that nobody believes that any of these individuals, including the writers, actors, or the audiences who laughed, are bigoted or filled with hate in any way. That's the nonsense of being overly sensitive on far too many things.
When you think about it, Norm is a character you'd buy. I did see on YouTube, it was a couple of young people that had never seen All in the Family before.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely just
like,
went,
oh, my
what
gosh.
the? But then I realized Carroll O'Connor was an incredible actor because he was Archie Bunker.
Yeah. I mean,
you never sensed any play acting at all.
No.
In there, like, okay, he's playing a role.
Right.
He was
just
Bunker.
Archie Bunker.
Yeah.
The scene where Sammy Davis Jr. kisses him on the cheek.
Oh, that's one of the best episodes
I mean,
ever.
etched into my brain. So funny.
The other one I remember on that one, and I haven't watched it in years, but it's amazing how it remains with you. The Sammy Davis Jr. one, or the guy that was played. Remember, he was an activist for the Jewish Defense League and got blown up outside of Archie's house.
Yeah,
somebody put a car bomb.
Yeah,
and got blown up outside. Those are the two that I always.
Wow. Yeah.
And I think when Michael left, when Meathead left, and I think they both said, "I love you." And that was like, whoa.
Yeah, right.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah.
You want to know the most radical thing ever on that show?
That was
those two characters telling each other that they loved each other.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
I used to steal a line. I used it with my kids from Edith Bunker, the character, Archie's wife.
Great.
Where she gave her daughter or somebody some orange juice. Drink all your orange juice. You never know what part the vitamin C is in. And I used that for years with my own kids.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
that was, but that's what reminded me of that. If you're and we talk about Hollywood a lot, but there are great actors out there. There are actors that you just say they are that character.
Well, Jane Stapleton. I mean, in that role of Edith Bunker.
Yeah. You know something though? You know who I didn't when Ted Danson. I always thought, well, no, he can never be anybody else.
Yeah.
What really impressed me about Ted Danson was not Cheers, even though it was great. I mean, the way, especially the end of it when, remember the last show, which was great.
Oh, yeah.
At the end when he's in there alone, just saying I'm the luckiest SOB alive.
Yeah.
Because he found out that, his true love was the bar and what he had created there, the sense of community there. But when he went on Becker,
Oh, yeah.
it was a completely different character, completely different. And I bought him. I bought both characters, hook, line, and sinker. That always impressed me. Because I didn't say, oh, no, he reminds me of, he was a completely different character and pulled it off. And I love his character in Becker because he was just the most irritable person you could ever imagine, and he pulled it off. You bought that this guy was just ticked off with the world all the time, yet he was a compassionate doctor.
And totally different than the Cheers role.
Yeah.
If you want to see him, in my opinion, at his best, I think the Becker thing is also great. But equally great, Fargo, the TV series, season 2, he plays the sheriff.
Oh, I'll see that.
It's really good. He was great.
There was an episode of Becker where George Wendt was the bartender.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, wow.
And George Wendt was the bartender.
Wow.
And he's getting really irritated with Becker being there. It was great.
That's great.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
It is still early in the reporting on the extent of damages, injuries, and fatalities associated with a Friday outbreak of tornadoes, according to USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey. Yet,
very early in the reporting, but obviously if you look across the country, more than 24 fatalities related to the high winds, including tornadoes. Still trying to sort out some of the details on all that.
Tornadoes of note from last week include one moving through Laurel County, Kentucky.
That tornado has been blamed at this point for 17 deaths, and that is by far and away the most tragic of all the tornadoes from that day.
Meanwhile, an EF3 tornado touched down in the St. Louis metro area before moving east in a widened path. Rippey says preliminary counts estimate between 40 and 50 tornadoes touching down at the beginning of last weekend. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up on the bottom of the hour, Jon Stewart goes after Jake Tapper. It's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, since we were talking about the death of George Wendt, who played Norm Peterson on Cheers, on YouTube, go look at they've got great stuff on Cheers.
Yeah.
You can find where they've edited every time that Norm Peterson walks into Cheers.
Right. Yeah.
Every single one of the things we read earlier. And it's actually pretty funny. I don't think it's that long. Let me see. I just think I saw it on social media. Think about this. 18 minutes long. That's that's a lot of times because it only takes like 10 seconds each one.
Yeah. Right.
So, but it's like 18 minutes long. But believe me, it's worth it because you actually, when I watched it the first time, I had to go back. I was like, what did he say? What did he say? What did he say? Let me hear that one again. So
yeah, right.
It is available there. So we'll get to that. Plus, more on the whole Jake Tapper thing. The budget bill, really nothing happening overnight. I think one of the committees, the budget committee, you said was supposed to vote on it. We had seen earlier, but apparently that didn't happen. Still not where they want to be. So we'll get to that. And one thing I wanted to bring up because we had talked about this, and it basically backs up what we have said. This is a legal expert stating that, the birthright citizenship now before the Supreme Court is actually inconsistent with the Constitution, as we have said, if you look at the intent of why it was put in there. So we'll get to that and more on the way.
listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, a little humor here from Jon Stewart about CNN's promotion of Jake Tapper's book on Biden's mental health.
Yeah.
Some of this is pretty funny. Here we go.
We're back with breaking news in our politics lead and a brand new excerpt from my upcoming book with Axios' Alex Thompson. It's called Original Sin. I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's on Biden's decline. It's called Original Sin. I'm sure you've heard on May 20th. That's Tuesday. Original Sin. That's coming out in 3 weeks. On May 20th. That's just 19 days away. In 1 week and 1 day. Coming out in just a few days. Comes out Tuesday. You will not believe what we found out.
He's giving a look.
Don't news people have to tell you what they know when they find it out? Isn't that the difference between news and a secret? You won't believe what we found out. No, that's why I'm watching. Breaking news in a week. Now, I don't know how the rest of the country is feeling about this book coming out, but I know New York is hyped. How do you pivot from excitedly promoting your anchor's book to somberly and respectfully promoting your anchor's book?
Biden's health was very much in the news even before the cancer diagnosis was announced on Sunday. That's because of a new book by CNN's Jake Tapper.
This was already going to be a tough week, and this makes it much harder. And that is a reference to the fact that our colleague, Jake Tapper, and Alex Thompson have a book that's set to publish on Tuesday.
This very tough news, this very challenging news, and at the same time, the backdrop of our colleague Jake Tapper's book with Alex Thompson coming out this week.
And he just gives a look again. And
Yeah.
But it was hilarious. Just absolutely hilarious.
I love that.
Oh, my gosh.
Just the way he phrases it.
And then I found this audio, and it's Alex Thompson and Jake Tapper. They're talking to Katie Couric, and they get in talking about Hunter. And the reason I'm playing this is not for what Jake Tapper said, but I would wonder if Jake Tapper has ever said it this way before and would have said this before the election, and whether Katie Couric, if it was a conservative who had said what Jake Tapper said, whether she would have had the same response. Listen to this. Here we go. All right.
How big a factor was the Hunter stuff?
I think it was considerable. I think Hunter was driving the decision making for the family in a way that he was almost like a chief of staff of the family.
Does that strike you as pretty bizarre?
It's bizarre because I think he is provably, demonstrably unethical, sleazy, and prone to horrible decisions. I mean,
tell me how you really feel.
Well, I mean, I just look at the record. I mean, after his brother died, he cheated on his wife with his brother's widow and then got her addicted to crack. That's just one thing I could say. I mean, I don't have a lot of personal regard for him, and just based on having nothing to do with, I barely have ever met him. I've met him like once or twice, but I knew Bo. Bo was a great, upstanding guy.
I knew him too. Really,
a real loss for the country too, not just for his family, for the country. But Hunter is not that, and the idea of letting him drive the family car, as it were, is just really, really questionable.
I just wonder, would Jake Tapper have said that before the election? Would he have said that last year? And would Katie Couric last year, if it was, or even now, if it was a Republican or somebody from Fox News who would come out with the book, would she have reacted in the same calm way? And I say absolutely not.
Right.
She would not have acted. She would not have acted in the same way at all. So I wanted to make sure we got that one out. The other thing is, I wanted to play this. This is Mark Halperin. And Mark Halperin, a Democrat. And it's really interesting because whenever anybody, it's funny because nobody can just judge a Democrat alone. They always have to bring up Trump. Well, he's a liar. I'm not saying that Trump isn't a liar, but he was a liar also. And it's like, what does Trump talk about one person at a time. Judge one person by the specifics or by the facts that you're bringing at the particular moment. You don't need to qualify it, but he does. You know why? Because he's a Democrat and he knows Democrats are watching. And Democrats will not accept any criticism of any Democrat unless you criticize a Republican at the same time. That seems to be something that they do a lot. But here it is. It's still fascinating where he goes.
I think one of the biggest mistakes, maybe the biggest through line of all for the way Bidens have been covered, is the Bidens, it is regularly said, are a good family. They're decent people. And I'm not here to tell you they're worse than the Trumps or worse than Nixon, but I'm here to tell you that the mythology that the Bidens are good people who don't lie is not borne out by the facts, and that's increasingly front and center in sharp relief this week. We know that they didn't tell the truth about Biden Inc. We know that. We know the president in the debate in 2020 against Donald Trump did not tell the truth when asked about Hunter's business. I'm not here to sit in moral judgment of them. I'm not here again to tell you that Joe Biden is a bigger liar by some metrics than Donald Trump. What I am here to tell you, again, is this has been a horrible mistake on the part of the media to treat the Bidens like they walk on water. 4 strands right now put in sharp relief this issue. First, the release last Friday of the audio tape of Joe Biden's conversations with Special Counsel Hur regarding the issue of whether he improperly took classified material out of the White House. That audio was blocked from release by the Biden White House. They've made up reasons why they blocked it, but the reason that they blocked it was because it would have been politically devastating had it been released when he was still trying to run for president. The second strand is all these questions about his mental acuity tied to the new book out today by Jake Tapper and Alex Thompson, related to the degree to which Joe Biden declined and the degree to which people around Joe Biden covered it up. Now, I've said before, I don't think the book actually delivers on the question of who covered up what. They hint at it, but I don't think they fully deliver on it. But there's no doubt that they are saying belatedly, in the case of Jake Tapper, less belatedly in the case of Alex Thompson, what was obvious to all, and I'll talk about that.
I just wanted to play part of that. See, to me, the most important question is not who covered it up, because they all covered it up.
Yeah,
and what I found interesting is, who was it? Was it Alex Thompson, when he was interviewed, said one of the most incredible things was when he talked to some of the aides for Biden, and they said, but you guys are at fault.
Yeah.
Because we threw just pure bizarro crap at you and you accepted it all as gospel truth.
Right.
We couldn't believe that you were accepting what we were throwing at you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that to me is mind-boggling. But when you look at Halpern here saying, it's important to find out who covered it up. No, it's important to find out who was making the decisions for the president.
That's what's most critical here, is what decisions were made without true presidential authority. Because those decisions, some of the Biden decisions or actions that he took as president are still in effect in governing people's lives right now.
Yeah.
All of them have to be reviewed.
Every executive order, we don't know if he actually knew what he was doing when he approved them. We don't know that.
Right.
The 1,400 pardons?
Yeah, right.
That came in the last month. You think he went through each and every one of those pardons?
Well, and because I know what the answer is going to be from the left. Well, there's no way you can actually find out because you can't get into the mind of Joe Biden. You can get into the minds of the individuals who were part of that process and witness to possible illegal actions, unconstitutional actions that were put into play, and again, some of which still govern the lives of the American people. That's it. That's your table right there. It's set. Now there has to be the political will to pursue it. This isn't about Joe Biden even anymore. It's about what went in, what happened, what actions were taken without the authority of the president. Because you have to consider the facts and you can't convince me it's not a fact, that they all knew, those closest to him. Sorry, Jake Sullivan, nobody buys, well, I was busy doing other things, you know, in the role of national security advisor. Nobody buys it. Because, again, as we have said, with any president, your national security advisor is closer to you in most times than your defense secretary and your VP. I mean, they're right. They are inner circle, maybe on some days closer to you than the first lady. So nobody buys that. And the question would be, again, what manipulation was there?
Finally, we have to end with this because I found it so incredibly funny yesterday. And the first person I thought of was you. I can't believe that they're still on this narrative. And it was a New York Times story that talked about Democrat megadonors are putting tens of millions of dollars together in order to find the liberal Joe Rogan. So the megadonors are putting together tens of millions of dollars in a search for the Democrats or the liberal Joe Rogan. Yeah. And it just got the response of, you had the liberal Joe Rogan.
Joe Rogan.
Right.
But if only we had our own Joe Rogan, you did. If only we had our own Elon Musk, you did.
What they don't understand is Joe Rogan created Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan did it. When you look at the successful podcast, when you look at successful conservative talk radio, even if you work for a major corporation, the corporation did not put together tens of millions of dollars to find somebody who would fit their political narrative. The company simply went, this is a new radio format. Can we make money on it? And who's doing it and who has some kind of talent that can do it? That's how that happened. It's not just like Air America failed because it came from the top down. And you and I remember Air America when it came forward, and we were when the documentary came out for Air America, we were dying laughing. It's like, okay, we're going to all sit in a room together here in the studio, and we're going to fake doing shows.
We're going to rehearse.
We're going to rehearse doing shows for 2 weeks.
Why do you need to rehearse your convictions?
Golly, it's like,
that's that. Do they think that's how it works? I mean, they must.
They must
stand in front of a mirror.
It was just. So you're going to do fake shows?
Right.
Yeah, we're going to do fake shows.
Right.
Really?
Yeah. No.
No. It's not how it works. You put people on the air that have some kind of broadcasting experience, that are passionate in their views, know where their views are, confident in their views, and you let them go.
You hire the people you know that can do that in the first place.
It's not a TV show where you've got 20 producers who tell the talk show host what they're going to be talking about for that day. It's not done that way. And it's definitely not done that way in any podcasts. They just go on and say, okay, let's go. Let's discuss the issue. And even on Bill Maher's, he drinks alcohol. Does he smoke pot on that?
I don't. Does he?
Did he smoke pot on that?
Yeah.
I know he drinks.
Yeah. I'm getting told that someone in the control room believes he does.
Okay. We know Rogan did.
Right, yeah.
Rogan, right.
Right. Allegedly.
Was it allegedly?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Because it's not legal in Texas.
Was he in Texas when he did that, though?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
Allegedly.
Because I wasn't in the room.
Helping him out.
I literally can't confirm nor deny.
Because they're wondering if the Texas House today is going to pass the complete ban of that's today, where I think they're having more of the discussion, but a vote could come down anyway today to ban it completely in Texas.
Yeah.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. All right, we got busy in that last segment. It went longer than we thought, hitting a bunch of different stuff. So I will get to that story and put it on the top of the pile. Okay. Really interesting article I read on birthright citizenship, that it's inconsistent with the Constitution. It really mirrors, but in more of a legal way than we did, what we said, the reason that birthright citizenship is not consistent with the Constitution.
Right.
So we'll get to the specifics of that tomorrow. I'm putting it right at the top of the pile.
All right.
Okay?
Okay.
Right at the top.
Don't move it. Don't spill any coffee on it.
Okay.
All right.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.